Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. How much farther? Kevin asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Adam's eyes darted to the rearview mirror before returning to the road. Another 10 minutes. Just stay cool. The car bumped along the poorly maintained back road, kicking up dust in its wake. Fields of overgrown grass stretched out on either side, dotted with the occasional dilapidated barn or rusted-out tractor. It was the perfect place to disappear. Finally, Adam turned down a nearly hidden dirt path, the car lurching as it navigated the uneven terrain. After what felt like an eternity, a small, weathered shack came into view. "This is it," Adam announced, killing the engine. The two men sat in silence for a moment, the weight of what they'd done settling over them like a heavy blanket. Kevin was the first to move, reaching for the duffel bag with trembling hands. "Let's see what we've got," he said, unzipping the bag. Adam watched as Kevin pulled out stacks of bills, his brow furrowing as he counted. "Well?" Adam prompted impatiently. Kevin's shoulders slumped. "It's not as much as we thought. Maybe 50 grand, tops." "Shit," Adam cursed, slamming his hand against the steering wheel. "All that risk for chump change? Hey, it's better than nothing," Kevin argued weakly. "We just need to lay low for a while. Let things cool down." Adam nodded grimly. "Yeah, you're right. Let's get this stuff hidden and get out of here." They exited the car, Kevin clutching the duffel bag to his chest as they made their way to the shack. The door creaked ominously as Adam pushed it open, revealing a sparse interior lit only by the sunlight filtering through grimy windows. "Over here," Adam said, gesturing to a loose floorboard in the corner. Together, they pried it up, revealing a small hollow beneath. Kevin carefully placed the duffel bag inside, and they replaced the board. "Now what?" Kevin asked as they stepped back outside. Adam ran a hand through his hair, his mind racing. "We need to change our appearance, fast. They'll have our descriptions all over the news by now." Kevin nodded in agreement. "I've got an idea, but you're not going to like it." An hour later, they pulled up in front of a discount clothing store in a nearby town. Kevin disappeared inside while Adam kept watch, his heart pounding with every passing car. When Kevin returned, he was carrying several shopping bags. "Got everything we need," he said, tossing the bags into the back seat. They drove to a secluded spot on the outskirts of town, parking behind an abandoned warehouse. Kevin opened one of the bags, pulling out a bundle of fabric. "You've got to be kidding me," Adam groaned as he realized what it was. Kevin shrugged. "It's the last thing anyone would expect. Trust me." Reluctantly, Adam took the offered clothes. The next few minutes were filled with cursing and awkward fumbling as the two men struggled into their new disguises. When they were finished, Adam stared at his reflection in the rearview mirror, hardly recognizing himself. The blonde wig framed his face, and the padded bra gave him the illusion of a feminine figure beneath the floral sundress. "This is insane," he muttered, adjusting the wig. Kevin, now sporting a brunette bob and a modest blue dress, applied a coat of lipstick. "Insane enough to work? Now let's get out of here before someone spots us." They drove back to the city, both men acutely aware of how ridiculous they looked. But as they passed a police checkpoint without so much as a second glance, Adam had to admit that Kevin's plan was working. "We'll hole up at my cousin's place," Kevin said as they navigated the city streets. "She's out of town for a few weeks. We can lay low there until things die down." Adam nodded, his hands still gripping the steering wheel tightly. "And then what?" Kevin shrugged. "We figure out how to get the money out of the country. Start fresh somewhere else." As they pulled up to a modest apartment building, Adam couldn't shake the feeling that their troubles were far from over. Little did he know just how right he was. The apartment was small but tidy, with generic decorations and the faint smell of air freshener. Kevin immediately headed for the bathroom, emerging a few minutes later with his wig and makeup removed. "Your turn," he said, gesturing to the bathroom. "I'll see what's on the news." Adam gratefully peeled off the uncomfortable disguise, splashing cold water on his face. As he stared at his reflection, he wondered how long they'd have to keep up this charade. When he returned to the living room, Kevin was sitting on the edge of the couch, his face pale as he stared at the TV. Adam's stomach dropped as he saw the breaking news banner scrolling across the screen. "Massive manhunt underway for bank robbers," the newscaster announced. "Police have released security camera footage of the suspects." Adam's legs felt weak as grainy images of himself and Kevin flashed on the screen. They had been so careful. How had they been caught on camera? "We're screwed," Kevin whispered, his voice shaking. Adam paced the small living room, his mind racing. "We need to get out of the country now!" Kevin shook his head. "They'll be watching the airports, the bus stations, everything. We'd never make it." "Then what do we do?" Adam demanded, frustration and fear evident in his voice. Kevin was quiet for a moment, then looked up at Adam with a grim expression. "We stay like this," he said, gesturing to the discarded wigs and dresses. "It's the only way." Adam wanted to argue, to say there had to be another way, but deep down, he knew Kevin was right. They were out of options. The next few days passed in a blur of anxiety and discomfort. Adam and Kevin took turns venturing out for supplies, always in their feminine disguises. They pored over news reports, watching as their faces were plastered across every screen in the city. "We need names," Kevin said one evening as they sat picking at a takeout dinner. "We can't keep calling each other by our real names, even when we're alone. It's too risky." Adam nodded reluctantly. "What did you have in mind?" Kevin thought for a moment. "I'll be Karen. You can be Amanda?" "Amanda," Adam repeated, testing out the name. It felt foreign on his tongue, another reminder of how far they'd fallen. As the days turned into weeks, Adam, now Amanda, found himself grudgingly adapting to his new identity. The wigs became less itchy, the makeup less of a chore. He even caught himself absent-mindedly adjusting his bra while watching TV. Kevin, or Karen, as he now went by, seemed to take to the change more easily. He spent hours practicing his feminine walk and voice, insisting that attention to detail was what would keep them safe. 1 month after the robbery, they decided it was time to retrieve the money from the shack. They made the drive in tense silence, both acutely aware of how much was at stake. As they pulled up to the shack, Amanda's heart sank. The door was ajar, swinging gently in the breeze. "No," Karen whispered, rushing inside. The floorboard had been pried up, the hollow beneath empty. Their money, their ticket to freedom, was gone. "What do we do now?" Amanda asked, her voice cracking with despair. Karen slumped against the wall, tears streaking her mascara. "We keep going," she said finally. "We don't have a choice." And so they did. Months passed, and Amanda and Karen became fixtures in their new neighborhood. They got jobs at a local diner, saving every penny they could. The irony wasn't lost on them. They had robbed a bank only to end up working for minimum wage. As time went on, the lines between their old and new identities began to blur. Amanda found herself enjoying the camaraderie of her female coworkers, the simple pleasures of a girls' night out. Karen threw herself into learning to cook, proudly showing off her latest culinary creations. 1 year to the day after the robbery, they sat in their small apartment, sharing a bottle of cheap wine. "Do you ever think about going back?" Amanda asked, her words slightly slurred. Karen shook her head. "To what? Prison? This is our life now, for better or worse." Amanda nodded, surprising herself with the realization that she didn't mind as much as she thought she would. They had built a life here, a simple one, but a life nonetheless. As they raised their glasses in a toast to their strange new existence, neither of them could have predicted the twists and turns that still lay ahead. But for now, in this moment, they were content. Two friends who had been through hell together and come out the other side, changed in ways they never could have imagined. The next morning, Amanda woke with a pounding headache, the remnants of their impromptu celebration. She stumbled to the bathroom, splashing cold water on her face before applying her usual makeup. The routine was second nature now, muscle memory taking over as she transformed into the person the world knew her to be. As she entered the kitchen, she found Karen already there, nursing a cup of coffee. "Rough night?" Karen asked with a smirk. Amanda grunted in response, pouring herself a cup. "We're getting too old for this," she muttered. Karen laughed, the sound light and feminine. It was moments like these that made Amanda marvel at how complete their transformation had become. There were times when she almost forgot the men they used to be. "We've got the late shift today," Karen reminded her. "Want to go shopping beforehand? I need some new work shoes." Amanda nodded, surprised to find herself looking forward to the outing. Shopping had become a guilty pleasure, one she never would have indulged in her previous life. As they browsed the local mall, Amanda found her gaze lingering on a vibrant red dress in a store window. Karen noticed and nudged her. "You should try it on," she encouraged. Amanda hesitated. "I don't know, it's a bit flashy, isn't it?" Karen rolled her eyes. "Live a little, girl. You've earned it." 15 minutes later, Amanda stood in front of the dressing room mirror, barely recognizing herself. The dress hugged her body, both natural and artificial, in all the right places. For the first time in a long while, she felt attractive. "You look amazing," Karen gushed as Amanda emerged from the dressing room. Amanda blushed, unused to such compliments. "You think so?" "Absolutely. You have to get it." As they left the store, dress carefully wrapped and tucked into a shopping bag, Amanda felt a strange mix of emotions. Pride in her appearance warred with a lingering sense of guilt and confusion about who she had become. Their shift at the diner that evening was busy, the usual Friday night crowd keeping them on their toes. Amanda found herself grateful for the distraction, the mindless routine of taking orders and refilling coffee cups helping to quiet her troubled thoughts. As she cleared a table near the window, movement outside caught her eye. A police car rolled by slowly, the officer inside scanning the street. Amanda's heart rate spiked, her hands shaking as she stacked plates. "You okay?" Karen asked, appearing at her side. Amanda nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, just a little tired." But the incident served as a stark reminder of the precarious nature of their situation. No matter how comfortable they had become in their new identities, the threat of discovery always loomed. That night, as they walked home from their shift, Amanda found herself hyper-aware of their surroundings. Every passing car, every stranger on the street seemed like a potential threat. "We can't keep living like this," she said quietly as they entered their apartment. Karen sighed, kicking off her shoes. "What choice do we have?" "We could leave," Amanda suggested. "Start over somewhere new where no one knows us." Karen was quiet for a moment, considering. "And go where? Do what? We barely make enough to survive as it is." Amanda flopped onto the couch, frustration evident in every line of her body. "I don't know. I'm tired of being afraid all the time." Karen sat beside her, taking Amanda's hand in hers. "I know. Me too. But we're safe here as long as we're careful. And I don't know about you, but I've kind of gotten used to this life." Amanda looked at her friend, surprised. "Really?" Karen shrugged. "It's not what I ever imagined for myself, but it's not all bad. We have friends, a routine. It's stable." Amanda nodded slowly, understanding what Karen meant. Their life wasn't glamorous, but it was theirs. They had built it from nothing, forged an identity out of desperation, and somehow found comfort in it. As they sat there, hand in hand, Amanda realized that somewhere along the way, their friendship had deepened into something more. They weren't just partners in crime anymore, but partners in life, bound together by shared experiences and secrets. The next few months passed without incident, their lives settling into a comfortable rhythm. Amanda wore her red dress for her birthday. earning compliments from their coworkers and even a few admiring glances from customers. Karen surprised her with a small cake after their shift, and they celebrated quietly at home, both acutely aware of how far they'd come. It was a Tuesday afternoon when everything changed. Amanda was wiping down tables during the mid-afternoon lull when the bell above the door chimed. She looked up, her practiced smile freezing on her face as she recognized the man who entered. It was Detective Johnson, the lead investigator on their case. She'd seen his face countless times on TV during those first frantic months after the robbery. Her heart pounded as he approached the counter, but years of practice kept her outward appearance calm. "Welcome to Sal's," she said, her voice only slightly higher than usual. "What can I get for you?" The detective smiled, seemingly oblivious to her internal panic. "Just a coffee black," he said, sliding onto a stool at the counter. Amanda nodded, turning to pour the coffee with hands that shook only slightly. As she placed the mug in front of him, she couldn't help but study his face. He looked older than she remembered, lines of stress etched around his eyes. "Busy day?" he asked conversationally. Amanda shrugged, falling back on the easy banter she'd perfected over the years. "Not too bad. You look like you could use this, though. Rough case." The detective chuckled ruefully. "You could say that. Been chasing a couple of ghosts for years now." Amanda's breath caught in her throat. "Oh," she managed, hoping her voice sounded merely curious rather than terrified. He nodded, taking a sip of his coffee. "Bank robbers. Pulled off a big job and vanished into thin air. It's like they never existed." Amanda made a sympathetic noise, her mind racing. Where was Karen? She was supposed to be back from her break by now. As if summoned by her thoughts, the back door opened and Karen emerged. Amanda saw the moment she registered the detective's presence, a flicker of fear crossing her face before being replaced by her usual cheerful expression. "Hi there," Karen said brightly, moving behind the counter. "Can I get you anything to eat with that coffee?" The detective shook his head. "No thanks, just stopping in for a quick break." Karen nodded, turning to busy herself with the dishes. Amanda could see the tension in her shoulders, the slight tremor in her hands as she stacked plates. The next few minutes felt like an eternity as the detective finished his coffee, making small talk about the weather and local sports. Finally, he stood, leaving a generous tip on the counter. "Thanks for the coffee, ladies," he said with a smile. "You two have a good day." As the door closed behind him, Amanda and Karen exchanged a look of mingled relief and terror. They had dodged a bullet, but for how long? That night, they sat at their small kitchen table, the remnants of a barely touched dinner between them. "We need to leave," Amanda said, her voice firm. "It's not safe here anymore." Karen nodded slowly. "You're right. But where do we go?" Amanda reached into her purse, pulling out a folded newspaper clipping. "I've been thinking about this for a while," she admitted. "There's a small town up north near the Canadian border. They're always looking for seasonal workers at the resort there." Karen studied the article, her brow furrowed. "It's so far away," she said softly. "That's the point," Amanda replied. "We start over one last time. No more looking over our shoulders." Karen was quiet for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it." The next week was a flurry of activity as they prepared for their move. They gave notice at the diner, sold what little furniture they owned, and packed their lives into 2 suitcases. As they stood in their empty apartment for the last time, Amanda felt a strange mixture of sadness and excitement. This place had been their sanctuary, the cocoon in which they had transformed. But it was time to spread their wings. The drive north was long and mostly silent, both women lost in their thoughts. As they crossed the state line, Amanda felt a weight lift from her shoulders. They were leaving their old lives behind, truly embracing the identities they had created. The small town of Pine Ridge welcomed them with open arms, desperate for help at the resort as the busy season approached. Amanda and Karen threw themselves into their new jobs, grateful for the distraction and the chance to build a new life. As winter turned to spring, they found themselves settling into the rhythm of small-town life. They made friends, joined the local book club, even started volunteering at the animal shelter. For the first time in years, they felt truly free. One day, as they walked hand in hand through the town's small park, Karen turned to Amanda with a serious expression. "I've been thinking," she said hesitantly. "Maybe it's time we made this official." Amanda looked at her, confused. "What do you mean?" Karen took a deep breath. "I mean, maybe we should get married. We've been living as women for so long, it feels right. And it would make our situation here more secure." Amanda was stunned into silence, her mind whirling with the implications. But as she looked at Karen, her best friend, her partner, the one person who truly understood her, she realized that the idea didn't frighten her as much as it once might have. "Okay," she said softly, squeezing Karen's hand. "Let's do it." The wedding was a small affair, just a few close friends from town gathered at the local courthouse. As Amanda stood before the justice of the peace, looking into Karen's eyes, she marveled at the strange journey that had brought them to this moment. They were no longer Adam and Kevin, the desperate bank robbers on the run. They were Amanda and Karen, beloved members of their community, starting a new chapter in their lives together. As they sealed their vows with a kiss, Amanda realized that sometimes the greatest transformations come from the most unexpected places. They had set out to hide, to disappear, but in the process, they had found themselves and each other. The years that followed were filled with a quiet contentment neither of them had ever thought possible. They built a life together in Pine Ridge, becoming fixtures in the community. Amanda took over management of the resort's restaurant, while Karen found her calling as a teacher's aide at the local elementary school. Their past remained a closely guarded secret, known only to them. But as time passed, the fear of discovery faded, replaced by a deep-seated peace. They had created new identities out of necessity, but somewhere along the way, those identities had become real. On their 5th wedding anniversary, as they sat on the porch of the small house they had bought together, Amanda turned to Karen with a smile. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked softly. "The choices we made?" Karen was quiet for a moment, her gaze distant. Then she shook her head, reaching out to take Amanda's hand. "No," she said firmly. "It wasn't the life we planned, but it's the life we built, together." Amanda nodded, understanding completely. They had started their journey as criminals, desperate and afraid. But they had ended it as partners, friends, and wives transformed in ways they never could have imagined. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.